Welcome to the Market My STR Show, the show made exclusively for short-term rental owners and co-hosts that actually works, so you can stop wasting time and money on short-term rental and co-hosting marketing strategies that don't work. Listen in for tips, tricks, and our book solid, move the needle, and core 4 marketing strategies. Here's your host, Scott Hill.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Market My STR Show. Jeremy, I don't know if you know this, but the number of podcasts that get started that only last one episode is 30%. 30% of all podcasts. Wow. We're 4. Let's go.
Right, we hit that first one.
Our next milestone.
I think I've heard 10 being another number 2.
So 7, 50% don't get past 7.
Wow.
10, 40%, and then at 50, we'd be in the rare air of less than 20% of podcasters. So ways to go. We know we want to do once a week, and a year from now, that would be about 50. We'd be in rare air at that point.
Well, we're going to get there.
Anyway, welcome, guys, everyone listening. This is the 4th podcast of the Market My STR Show. Like I said, we are here to help host, co-host, small property managers, and people with self-managing portfolios of STRs to elevate their game, especially from a marketing standpoint. But what we also are doing is Jeremy and I are partners in a company called Altver, and we are building a co-host company. So this is a journey. This is a journey for us to share what we are doing on a week-to-week basis as we go, we like to say, from $0 to $10 million in booking revenue. That's our internal goal. We don't know how we're going to get there in terms of how many properties it's going to take. We do have a specific buy box. We have a lot of things that we know we're going to do, but who knows? If the property is $2 million, obviously you need a lot more, and booking revenue annually is $250,000. You need a lot more properties than you do if you've got a $10 million property with it. This one property does $1 million in booking.
It's also market specific, right? So we're focused on 30A, so property values are sky high. So you could be in other markets, and maybe a $2 million is going to do really well.
Lot higher, and I think, like, as we've talked, and as I started to talk to you, one of the things you shared with me that you've learned over the years is that the property itself requires the same amount of work,
right?
No matter what the size and what the
sometimes right. Sometimes the smaller, not so great properties cause more work.
Yeah. So Jeremy and I have come up with a sort of a regimen, an agenda for these podcasts. First 5 to 10 minutes is going to be straight Market My STR. Whether you're a co-host, a host, or a small property manager, really at the end of the day, our success is dependent on us filling the property calendar for our clients. So Market My STR is really specific strategies on how to do that from a marketing standpoint. So what I want to share with you today is this week, if you're listening to this and this maybe is months away from our air date on this, then you may be able to get 10, 20, 50, even 100 of what we're calling our game changer strategies. So Market My STR this week, as a function of meeting people at the STR Wealth Conference, from being a coach in Bill Faith's inner circle and being exposed to all of these hosts and co-hosts that are really, really, killing it. People like Patrick Switek, Dan Colonhay, Jeremy Levine, Michael Sade, all these people we've had the privilege of getting to know. They're leveling Market My STR up as we go and challenging us to create STR-specific strategies. So here, I want to give you a sneak peek. It starts August 4th. Monday, August 4th is our first one, but here's what these Market My 100 Market My STR game changers are all about. So they're a combination of strategies, tactics, tutorials, trainings. I'm reading off a script here so I don't forget anything. Secrets, tips, hacks, anything specifically designed and proven to help you get more bookings, more co-hosting clients, better leverage for your STR marketing time, build better relationships with your guests and audience, help you get control over your STR marketing, get more attention, maximize property revenue, and how to scale your STR portfolio. So, like I said, we're releasing one a day every business day for the next 20 weeks. That equals 100. and it is going to be insane. So we're really excited to share them. Stay tuned, and we hope to really help you almost have an unfair advantage over your competition. All right, Jeremy, so let's get into co-hosting. How are you doing?
Good. Doing
Why
good.
don't, since they just listened to me for almost, I don't know how long here, several minutes, why don't you go into what we are going to do on a weekly basis? We're going to kind of review what we did last week.
Yep.
We're going to talk
Review
about
last week, what we got planned for the following week, if there's any news of anything that's happened in the business that we're going to share, and we'll probably go into like one topic. And I think this week we'll talk a little bit about STR Wealth Con since it was last week. So I'll just jump in. I only had 2 tasks really, or 2 goals for last week. I had mentioned, I think on the last pod, that I'm taking the Justin Ford safety class, which is specific for Florida. I think it's like 8-ish hours or so. So I've been doing it on my commute into New York City. So I'm just continuing that. Did that this past week. And then I had a goal of filming and editing one long form video that ties to the short form video, or one of the short form videos that I made that's going out towards our Facebook audience. And essentially that video was all about how to set up seasonal pricing profile. And it was assuming you're just entering a market for the first time and you just got a client, you just bought a house. So how do you figure out what the seasonality is for that market and start setting up a seasonal profile, which is what you would put into Price Labs. So, I'm still learning how long that takes me to do. It ended up being 20 minutes, which is about, 8 to 10 minutes longer than I wanted it to be, and probably took me 3.5 hours to film it and edit it. But I think the more I do it, the faster.
You already answered one of my questions, and now, so I'll ask you the first question I was going to ask you. Backing up to the safety course, were there any ahas that came out of this week?
I just got into the pool section, and I think that's a big part of this course. And that was one of the things I wanted to learn. One of the properties in the Poconos that my business partner there has a pool. And obviously we're only going after properties in Florida with pools, most likely. And there's stuff, about making sure the pool is blocked off, right? And the alarms and everything you need to have about the pool. So I'm actually looking forward to getting into that this week, because it's still, even though we have a property that has a pool, we honestly probably don't have any of these things in place. So it's going to be interesting when we look at properties to be like, oh, does this have any potential, shortfalls when it comes to safety? And is there really anything we can do in this luxury property to make it a little bit more safe?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't I tell you about the things I did this week. One is we got our first lead, which was cool. That lead that's new to us, right? Together as a team, we had not gotten any leads yet, so that was a cool thing. And the second thing was I posted that conversation. In the conversation I had with this lead, we talked about his desire to market his property, and when we were talking about it, I was asking a couple questions. So I asked him why was he interested in marketing? Is because we don't do any marketing. And I said, what does we mean? And he said, well, my property manager. And I said, wait a second, why? First of all, I asked what was the property manager's rate, which was shocking to me. That's first thing. Second thing was I asked him, why isn't the property manager, especially for the rate he's charging or she's charging, why isn't that the property manager doing the marketing for you? And he said that the property manager actually refuses to market. Those were his words. He said it's actually in the contract that the property manager doesn't market. And while that may be in contracts, for the percentage that this property manager is taking, I was pretty floored by it. So I shared that conversation in one of the groups that we are going into, and there was a lot of chatter about it, to say the least, which was cool because I think you and I have learned over time that when we go into these groups, we want to provide value and be helpful, and go in and try to start to build what people see as an expertise in the field, and that leads to leads. We learned that from
person of interest, right? Which is what we're trying to do with our 100-day funnel. Yeah, I will say, one, it's an exciting lead. We'll see what happens there, but it's strange that they don't do any marketing. And obviously we've looked a little bit into the property. It's a beautiful property. I haven't looked much into the current property manager, except for the fact that I think they have like over 60 properties in the area and all luxury. And it would be strange that they don't do any marketing.
Yeah.
Or they're just that traditional old school property management company that just has the listing up on their website. If they get Airbnb or VRBO hits, great, but they're not really doing much outside of that. So we'll see which
Posting
outcome.
more. You said you're doing another short and long form content. You had done plenty of those, and we had a couple in the queue, and we posted those. That's another lesson we're learning, that we want to be more efficient. You were giving those to me. I was putting them up. We found that to be a little bit of a clunky process. I'm going to teach you how to do it. So that's something we learned this week. And then the other thing that I did is, for those of you out there starting a co-host company, personally, we built a co-host Facebook page, and we had 3 followers on it, and very difficult to get us any more than 3 followers. I found we had it up for like 2 months.
Are we 2 of those 3?
Yeah, I think we are 2 of them, and my wife was the 3rd, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, she's not on Facebook. Couldn't have been.
I gotta make sure my wife follows us.
That's right. So, if for anybody who doesn't know this, you can do a Facebook follow like campaign, and so what I did was, for any of those of you who are interested in it, I went to Canva. And in the video section, I created a 15-second video of a video of 2 people walking on the beach. And this was already pre-done. It was a template Canva had. I edited it to say, consider Altvare a luxury Altvare beach location, even though we don't have any properties yet. And I created a paid ads. I first posted it on our Facebook page and then boosted that and created a campaign with an objective of page likes or page follows. And we agreed to put $5 a day against it. And here are the results. In the first, I think it's almost 2 weeks, but we did $5 a day, and I think we spent like $60 or $70 on it so far, and we're up to 228 followers. Now, like, it's a popularity game in some regard that we all just have to appreciate that exists. And the psychology that I've learned over time is that let's just ask, for those of you listening, let's just ask a very simple question. I'll ask Jeremy the question. He can respond to it any way he wants. Jeremy, if you're a property owner and you're looking for a co-host company, and you were on Facebook and you heard about Altvare and you heard about Premier co-hosting, right? 2 30A co-hosting companies. And you went to their Facebook page just as the beginning of your research, and you went to our page and there were very few posts and there were 3 followers, and then you went to Premier co-hosting Facebook page and there were 400 followers and they had a post every week. What would be your psychological reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same of being on Amazon. Right? If you're comparing 2 products and there's 1 million reviews on one and 2 on the other, you're going to go with the one that's got the 1 million reviews, right? So, I think we're building up some credibility up front, right? Which that credibility will develop, and we will get some natural followers there. But I think it's only going to help us in the beginning to keep people's attention.
Yeah, I didn't manipulate these follows. I didn't do anything. Right. I asked Facebook to put this video in front of anyone in the United States,
right, with
a picture or a short video of 2 people walking in the beach, and say, who needs a beach vacation? And then it's up to the person to follow. So exactly. I think if you can do that, like if you're listening and you're a co-host or you're a portfolio or whatever it is with your STR, create some sort of video like that so that when a person like Jeremy, who's the owner of a property, comes to your page, he doesn't have a psychological negative reaction to it. It may even be neutral. I don't think any of us are going to stop at the Facebook page likes and say, all right, I'm going to hire that person. But what it might do is stop you from going any further investigation if there are only 3 likes and inconsistent.
I think that's 100% what it's going to do.
Yep.
Right.
That's exactly what it does. So anyway, that's what I did last week. Next week, I'll get to mine so you can go to your next week's. But
sure.
My next weeks I'm going to be following up with all our 30A real estate agents that we've already started relationships with. I'm going to talk to Joe Rohn and his 30A Savvy team specifically. We're going to do another podcast for Make It 5. And then I'm going to finalize our co-host Marketer Pro framework that is inside Market My STR for Altvare to make sure It's all dialed in, all of our sequences, everything that goes into that's dialed in. And then I am also, as Jeremy talked about, going to do one long form and short form video, probably around the percentages that property managers charge.
That'll be a good one. Yeah.
All right, so what do you got up for next week?
So this coming week, I'm continuing on our tests to launch. Essentially just making sure we have everything ready to go, all documentation that would potentially be needed from a first client call to getting the house operational. I've been doing that the last couple of weeks. That kind of fell off the list. So this coming week and the following week, I'm going to do a big push to make sure we've got everything ready to go. And there's probably going to be some things that I'm going to send to you for your eye on, like Canva, improvements. Continue with the safety course. And I know I had mentioned this earlier, and we can talk about it a little bit when we recap STR Wealth Con, but I'm considering signing up for the STR Secrets Mastermind. They have a new thing they rolled out where it's essentially a 3-month for a lower cost, and then if you want to continue after those 3 months, you pay the balance of the full for the year. But those 3 months gives you access to all the SOPs and everything that they do in their training. So considering signing up for those 3 months and really solidifying our processes so that once we do have clients, we have it now in our Google Drive, but I think they could help us take it to the next level, and I'd rather do that now versus, when we have 10 properties.
And that brings us to STR Wealth Conference, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you want to you want to just talk about this new lead that came in, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't in our buy box.
Right.
Well, it is and it isn't, right? Because it's not in our market that we're going after, right? We're going after 30A, and this one is kind of, I guess, central-ish Texas, maybe eastern Texas a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're kind of we're considering it, and it would be a little bit of a pivot, right? And what was that? You want to talk about that, division that we're kind of considering?
I don't like when people do this, but I'm going to do this because it's important to us. And I think if you're a partnership and a co-host, I think it's important to understand you're going to have conversations, really important and really serious conversations. You and I had 2 this week, one of which we're not going to talk about, right? Yeah. And the second one we are. The one that we're not going to talk about was the most important one because you and I have developed this relationship where we can be brutally honest with each other and listen to each other. And we came away with probably a more strengthened partnership than we did before that. Yeah. And I thought that was a very, very important conversation. And then the second one that you're talking about is, I personally believe this conversation that we had about this, I don't think we can have this conversation any other time than right now. At the beginning, you know what I mean? We're a bit more flexible about how we move than we might be down the road. I don't know. You may feel differently about that. Now that I even say it, I said, maybe those words are a bit too strong. But the point is what you were saying. We wanted, and we have thought that we were pretty clear on wanting to go after some higher end properties in 30A and eventually in Salt Lake City. But we got introduced to this prospect in a way that was very interesting and in a way that I didn't force. It just came up in conversation, and it caused me to want to talk to you about it. So I think that's where it was compelling enough of a conversation for me to say, hey, Jeremy, this is a lead that I would characterize as 1 in a million. And because it was 1 in a million, and we've had these conversations before, if you remember, in the beginning where you were talking about, should we continue to coast these properties in the Poconos, or what do you think about some of these properties? I think you and I think even though we didn't verbalize it like we did this week, I think what we realized was those properties weren't 1 in a million properties. Right. And they didn't fall in the 2 markets that we both felt like we wanted to level up to. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Going back to the Poconos, I had 2 leads come in that period of time that had we not have started this partnership, I definitely would have taken because they would have leveled up from the properties that I currently or did have at the time in the Poconos. but we passed on it, right? We passed because it wasn't in our buy box. It didn't really fit what we were trying to build. But I think this new lead, the 1 in a million category, which we're kind of calling it, is so unique that we kind of stepped back and said, well, this might be something that's worth taking on, and we still focus on 30A and build that up, but maybe we do have this 1 in a million unique arm of other properties. And I kind of like it because for almost the entire time I've been short-term rentals, been really interested in like cabin communities, right? Like I think you can build something really cool with cabin communities, and there's a big push now into boutique hotels. So maybe that's something that eventually can fall into that category of our business. So I'm definitely open to it, and I don't know if this is going to go anywhere with the lead, but I'm just excited to have a conversation with them, and even if all we can do is provide value and kind of help them because they're new, look forward to that.
The other thing that you and I did to be rational about this one lead was we said, you know what, if nothing else, it's a chance to practice. It's a chance for us as partners to practice the process. Like we're in the selling process together now. And has been such a natural, like, give and take of, at one point, I guess I got to tell the story about this lead. The owner I talked to at one point wanted to talk to his wife, and at the end of the conversation, he said the major issue I see about if I was going to change property managers was finding the right resources to care for the property and clean the property
to their level of expectations.
Level of expectations. So I got off the phone. I immediately Googled residential cleaner. I found 2, called one, had a good conversation, and I responded to him immediately via email saying, hey, here's one I talked to. And the response he gave me immediately was, I think it was a positive impact to our credibility. So he replied again, and he said, hey, I have some other questions about marketing. And naturally, since I'm the kind of the marketing side, I created a draft. I ran it by you. You had 1 or 2 changes. We sent it. Then he sent back decidedly operational questions. I mean, it was clear. And I said, Jeremy, take it from there. And he hadn't met you yet, but it was a perfect segue into letting you engage and take the lead in that part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, what I did was just, again, their biggest hang up sounds like it's going to be maintaining the property. So I kind of went through what our process is going to be and how do we manage and ensure their property is always ready for guests, also owners, when we're not local. So
hey, and that brings me up to, I think, what I'm going to tease as our next topic, our topic next week. You said Market My STR, but now that we've defined, I'm just going to do the first 10 minutes. Jeremy, what do you think about doing our tech stack, our sort of launch tech stack, how we're going into this? And I know that, what you just said is a result of using Breezeway, but it might be good for whoever's listening to say, well, what are they using in order to get started? Maybe you can take that lead on that next week.
No, I'm happy to put that together. And I think what we have now will probably look different a year from now, right? Because we're going to realize some things work for us and some things don't. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. We can schedule that for next week.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about STR Wealth Conference last week.
Yeah, so I'll kind of go first. I think we had different perspectives, right? I was more of a audience person and everything. I know you had your Market My STR set up, so you had a lot of conversations with people interested in Market My STR, and you also did a few breakout sessions with large groups, right? So, for me, this was my first STR Wealth Con. I had wanted to go in the past, just never ended up pulling the trigger. I guess this is also now my last STR Wealth Con, which it sounds like is fact. They're both, Bill Faith and Mike Sogren are kind of going in different directions, where they're both producing their own educational space, right? Yep. So Mike Sogren has a 10,000 square foot facility in Boston that he's finishing building, and he for STR Secrets is going to have all of their retreats there. And Bill is, I think, just closed on a property in Montana that's going to be his facility for educational training. So my takeaways was it can be very overwhelming because there's
Mm-hmm.
so much going on, right? There's a lot of vendors. There's a lot of different, you know, professionals there that are teaching their part of the expertise that they have in the short-term rental world, and it's all going on at the same time, right? So trying to pick and choose which breakout session to be in can be a little bit of a challenge, and now I understand the importance of ensuring I get the recordings, right? Because there were definitely some breakouts that I wasn't able to make it to that I feel like maybe I should have, because I might have been in a breakout where it was kind of information that I already knew. For the most part, I probably should have been, you know, in something that I didn't know. So there was that, but it's, you know, overall, it's great information and insight into the STR industry. You definitely learn a lot from everybody there. And then I would say, you know, there were really, for me, two standouts. Coach Michael Burt, I thought was great. So he's the author of Person of Interest, which Bill has talked about a bunch in Inner Circle, and I was listening to on Audible. He did a keynote, I think either the second day, and then he did a breakout session, and I found him to be very valuable. I thought about potentially approaching him for coaching, like several hundred people did as well. I'm sure he got a lot of people to sign up, but if anybody hasn't heard of Michael Burt, I definitely recommend looking him up, listen to the things that he says. He started as a girls basketball coach. I don't remember if it was elementary school or high school. I think it was high school. Ended up winning a national championship, but how he did that and how he ended up becoming the coach that he is. And he has the, I'm forgetting what the name of the center is that he built in Nashville, but he built his own facility, coaching facility as well. So highly recommend, look up Michael Burt. And then the STR Secrets breakout I thought was great. I think, you know, their focus is on scaling, which I think you and I are kind of straddling the Bill Faith idea of how to build a business and the STR Secrets idea of how to build a business. We don't want 200 properties, right? But Bill preaches 10 or so properties, right? Get the right properties, that's really all you need to build up the income that you want. We're thinking more of like 50, right? So we're gonna need those solid SOPs and processes built and corporate structure built to be able to build the thing that we want to build. And that was their focus. So they did a deep dive on how to build out a business and the corporate structure and how that works. And then they did a deep dive just on overall SOPs. So I've had some experience and some exposure to that initially in the Legends X coaching program I did, but I think this is one more step up. So I think joining that program will provide a lot of value for us. Going forward, like I said earlier, I want to do that now versus when we have 10 properties.
I had no idea you did any of that, and I'm thrilled that you did, because that is just that different perspective helps us round out. And I'm going the opposite direction in terms of me focusing on marketing in such a psychotic way that like we are going to have that covered too. You know what I mean? Like as aggressively as you are moving into an operational excellence sort of role, I'm doing the exact same thing. In fact, like, believe it or not, we've had the welcome video strategy that we've shared with Market My STR subscribers to do it for their guests every time. And I just implemented it for the first time on all my new Market My STR subscribers. And the reaction,
that's great.
It was unbelievable. You know, so
that's one of the things that Coach Michael Burt talked about. Whether or not it was totally true or not, but he talks about when he sees somebody bought his book or somebody left one of his Facebook groups, he literally picks up the phone and calls them. Like, they bought a book, thanks so much for, buying my book, or why'd you leave my Facebook group, and people don't believe it's him. So I think that's great.
But in the stratosphere we're going to be dealing in with the guests we're dealing in, it's a no-brainer for us to do it. In terms of the bookings and we learned from Dan Colon how you've got to deal with the kind of guests we're going to deal with in a totally different way.
Yeah, he just went through he still is going through a very, very challenging situation with guests, and we're in the process now of making sure that our insurance is going to be 100% right in case there are issues, and it's just one thing we don't want to have to stress about.
Yeah, and maybe there's one day we can have Dan on and share that story. But anyway, so sounds like we've got we've covered most of it. I guess for me,
Yeah.
the STR Wealth Conference takeaways are: I was a ball and chain on Market My STR booth for most of the time. I was let out in order to
I brought
do
you some
breakouts.
food.
Yeah, you bought me food.
You
Yeah,
starved.
exactly. Because I couldn't go anywhere, which is both positive and negative. It's positive because I do,
Right.
it was awesome to see Market My STR subscribers help new ones. I think the downside is that I'm also building a co-host company, and I would have loved. I talked to a guy who got 10 co-host clients out of that conference.
Wow.
He walked
From the
around.
conference.
He walked around and literally walked into conversations. He spent the entire 3 days walking into conversations, introducing himself and saying hello. And at several points, the conversations he walked into were people who owned STRs that were looking for co-hosts.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah.
I mean, and he said he's gotten 10 clients. He literally said one guy with 7 properties in the same metro that he lives in.
That's
So we connected instantly there. He told him about the success he's having. I didn't get a chance to do any of that. And there could have been
I
a
didn't
lot.
even think to do that.
This guy's 25 years old too. He's a go-getter, and it
Right.
just that type of thing, I wasn't able to do. And I'm telling the story because it's a learning lesson. Like we can do that too in the future when these conferences are available to us.
And side note on that too, they're probably the right client, right? If they're
Absolutely.
at STR WealthCon, they're the type of client you want to work with. So
Yeah.
I think for me, it was just my mind was so much on, everybody here is managing, but that's not the case. There was definitely people there, that own. Yeah.
I wish when he told me the story, I had met him at my booth. We agreed to follow up for a conversation. We had a conversation last week, and the best decision I made at the beginning of the call was like, tell me what happened at the STR Wealth Conference. How did it go? And that's when he told me the story. If I wouldn't have asked, he wouldn't have told me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
All right, cool. So next week, our episode is going to be devoted a lot to this tech stack you've decided to use. I've had some input on that, but it'll be things like Happy Guest, right?
Yeah.
Breezeway. It'll be your PMS you've chosen. It'll be all this stuff. The all like
Price Labs.
B&B Calc, Price Labs,
Yep.
Market My STR, all this tech stack that we have decided to use to get out of the gate. And like you said, if it helps us throughout our journey, great. If at some point we got to level up to something else, then that's what you're going to do.
That's going to be inevitable, right?
Yeah.
We're for sure going to end up dropping some things and adding some things. And I think, after speaking with Host Buddy AI at the conference, I've been flirting with the idea of adding them now to see how that goes. Because I did do another one about a year ago, and then I dropped it because I didn't feel like it was really making a change. That might have been partially my mistake on how I was using it. I didn't feed it enough information. But
Do you know Eric Corson?
No.
He did a review on Host Buddy AI. He did a free or a 6-month trial, and he posted a review. I don't know where he did. I'll share it with you. But if anybody knows Eric Corson, or you can look for Eric Corson on Facebook, he did a review with Host Buddy AI, and he sort of had a recommendation at the end of it. And the recommendation was, if you're a sophisticated, experienced host, this might be a good thing to use right now. And he gave the pros and cons. It was pretty.
Yeah, and
thorough.
it sounds like it's got some advantages, not just guest messaging, but it's doing some other stuff too. So
Yeah, it's pretty thorough.
Yeah,
Market
cool.
My
No,
STR
excited.
is trying to level up AI and have some options like that. So I don't know when we're going to actually start really testing it and implementing AI, but who knows how much overlap there'll be in any of that stuff. But yeah, I think AI is the future of our business.
Yeah,
I think what
100%.
Eric said, or someone else said, was something to the effect, AI's not going to eliminate businesses as much as those who are using AI are going to eliminate those who aren't, kind of deal. You know
Or
what I mean?
accelerate faster.
Yeah, it's like you got to use it as a tool. If you just decide you're not going to use it, you're going to get left behind more than likely.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Jeremy, great episode.
Yeah, good show.
Thank you guys for listening, everyone. And any parting words, Jeremy?
No, I think I'm just excited to get into the week and keep working towards building this business. And hopefully we'll have a call with this lead.
I need to have like a sign-off thing, like happy hosting. Anyway, we'll see.
You'll come up with something.
Yeah, we'll see y'all in the next episode. Take care.
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott.